Do you always want to have the last word? Well, in this game, you and your friends can compete to see who said the thing last before the timer goes off. Hence the namesake, the last word.
Category of sandwiches, and the letter is H. Ham sandwiches, Havarti sandwiches, hot dogs. Wait, that's not a sandwich. What?
Last Word is a party game for 2 to 8 players where players advance on a game board by being the last to say an appropriate word before a random buzzer goes off. The game ends when one player has reached the end of the game board. Let me show you guys what you get in the box when you buy the game. You got this rule book, a tad bit bigger than 8.5 by 11, one-sided. You got this game board. It, kind of goes nice like this. Then you got this letter deck, all the different letters that can pop in the game. These will be used to create the first letter of your words. Next, we got 8 pawns, plastic, jingles. We got these trade-in markers. You got 8 of these, one for each type of player color that is playing the game. The most important part is this timer. So it has an on-off switch right here. You press it, it turns on, and it has a random interval. And then it'll go off. Who knows when? I don't even know when. Bunch of categories of words. So this is magazines, all about birthdays, things associated with Australia, things that are carried, all about chickens. It goes on and on. The goal of the game of Last Word is to reach the end of this track, where players move forward spaces by being the last to blur out words. Before every round, players will in real time look at their current letter, then look at the subject card in their hand. To begin, any player can place down their subject card and immediately state a word that fits with the current letter. For example, right now we have the letter I, and in my hand I have all about New York. I don't know what would fit under I in New York City. I'll just keep going until we find something. For example, the current letter is I, and the card in my name is girls' names. So, to start a round, I could say Iris, put this card down that says girls' names, then immediately press this timer, turning on the random interval. This goes off anywhere between 5 to 30 seconds. Once this button has been pressed, all hell breaks loose, with players hollering any word that fits a subject card and letter. There is no restriction on how many they can say, and it's typically better to say more, since whoever said the last word before this timer goes off wins the round. As per usual with these games, Daniel is going to be one player, and so am I. Let the game begin.
Oh, God damn it, I keep punching the lens. Let me save the side up top. And this card is things that make people happy. I'm gonna love. Yeah.
Lemonade.
Lamborghinis.
Licorice. Alright, so since I won the round, I'd move up 1 space. Now onto the pros of Last Word. This game is actually hilarious. I laughed off this game at first, but it actually has a lot of pros that startled me. The first pro is how this game keeps you constantly on your feet. This is in large part due to the jump start mechanic, which we'll explain right now. If a player yells jump start and presses the timer without playing a subject card of their own, the race is on for anyone else to think of one word for the subject cards that matches the current letter. If not, the person that yells jump start, which would be me, moves forward 2 spaces. If someone does yell out a word that matches the current letter and what's in their hand, they move forward 1 space. This jumpstart mechanic actually led to people analyzing the game constantly to see if they could ever pull off a jumpstart successfully. This mechanic is a crucial element needed to ensure that there is no downtime in this game, since you are always looking at your own cards, but also other people's faces to see if you can catch them off guard with a jumpstart round. The second pro is the good letter distribution. The creators were insightful enough to notice that simply throwing in an A through Z distribution of letters in a deck wouldn't be that fun. This game provides plenty of common letters like S, T, and M, and throws in the X and V every so often. Next are the simple rules that don't bog the game down, making this game very easy to explain. There is no unneeded fluff at all, so anyone can get right into the fun. If you're already into any type of word game, you'll get into this game in seconds. We feel like this game would be unplayable if the buzzer timer wasn't implemented well. And thankfully, it works wonderfully. It actually is reasonably unpredictable and has a great tactile feel to it. There's also no mistaking the buzzer sound when it goes off, as it is loud enough to stop everyone from... Last Word also scales well due to everyone participating in every round, and you can even put 2 or 3 people on a single team to balance the game or spice things up. Lastly, this game has amazing replayability due to the different combinations of subject cards and letters. Since many of your own thoughts in this game will be inspired by your opponents, you never really know how you'll be thinking outside the box next. If the round card is things in a garden, I could be thinking of gardening tools and plants, But Daniel could be thinking of bugs and start naming bug names, which inspires me to think of rodents, and so on and so forth. Now on to the cons of Last Word. There are only 2 small cons in this game that we have to mention. The first one is the trade-in chip mechanic, where players are each given a trade-in chip to use once per game to trade in their subject card for a new one. We found that this single-use chip was just not enough, as players frequently had to trade out their hands at least more than once in a game. The second and last con is this small pool of confusing subject cards. For the most part, culturally relevant cards are pretty whack in this game and lead to confusing interactions. If the letter C and the actor category came up, do you say Chris Evans, Chris Pratt, Chris Tucker? Damn! At the end of the day, these aren't even one-word answers anyways. It was also too vague on what constituted an actor, since people could just pull out random actors out of their butt that other people had no idea existed and they just had to agree with. This subject card in particular is really hilariously dumb. It's called Things on the Internet. This was just begging to be exiled from this game because the internet has basically everything, so this card is not really a subject card at the end of the day. It's just everything. Yo, Daniel, what's that recommender score for this Last Word? What do you think about that?
Oh, yeah. So first of all, the recommender score, we gotta explain it real quick. So the recommender score is our attempt at being objective when it comes to how we would recommend the game. In this case, Last Word, our recommender score would be an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, Last Word is a great game. It is a loud blast for those groups who love yelling, but actually rewards people who plan ahead and are quick on their feet. So there's actually strategy in this game in terms of you can plan ahead with 3 to 5 words on the card you have, but you still have to think quickly on other people's turns because they have categories that you don't know beforehand. Another awesome thing in this game is that you're inspired by your opponents because as they say word answers, you may think of more answers yourself, and it just keeps going on and on. You're creative, they're creative, the fun just keeps spiraling forward.
And the thing about the whole Last Word gimmick is, my God, saying the last word would never even be a thing without this glorious timer. This timer does the game justice. Without it, the game would not even function. This thing is insanely fun, insanely random, just works, man. Tactile feeling, great button, loud as hell buzzer that just scares me every time. Bam.
There's really something about reaching across the table to just press the button and starting a round. Another thing about Last Word is that it needs a little bit of house ruling to cater the subject deck to your group. Isn't a big deal, but your mileage may vary in terms of what you find agreeable. A couple categories that we agreed on but are vague enough to be questionable are here, which Daniel's holding. We have sandwich, snack foods, and things that scare people.
When you have things falling under categories of words, things tend to get pretty vague, and it's kind of up to your group to decide how you want to be able to rule these topics. So, like, for instance, for sandwiches, if someone says hot dog, are you going to allow that? Like, it's up to your group, right? For snack food, if someone says, like, chicken nuggets or, like, pizza, and it's like, sure, I guess if you want to treat it as snack food, but, I mean, again, right, it's vague enough that you got to decide for yourself what you want to qualify for these categories. Things that scare people. This could be anything. There's phobias for stuff, man.
For my personal score, I'm going to give this game 8 out of 10. I truly think this game is an underrated gem. Understandably, it won't fly well with people who don't like real-time word games, but for me, I love to think on my feet and see what type of nonsensical words come up. I am constantly impressed with what this game does for my brain and energy, and I just feel great blurting out words.
Hi guys, what's up? It's me, Daniel. It's time for my personal score. What do I think of the last word? I'm gonna have to give this game a 6 out of 10. This is an above average game for me. Now, I actually usually very much like my word games. I like being witty. I like thinking of those creative usages of our language that most people would not even consider if they were not playing these hilarious games. But alas, the last word simply does not hit all of the marks for me as much as some other word games like Decrypto as an example. Now, Last Word does have an insanely fun novelty factor. My God, the whole last word shtick is great. But for me at least, it wears off pretty quickly. I don't know what it is. Maybe the deck could use like more subject cards or maybe more interesting subject cards. I'm not sure what it is, but like for me at least, like this is a game I'd probably play like twice in a day and be like, yeah, let's play something else. Another thing I don't like about the game is just like the general aesthetic of it. Like it just looks a little wonk, a little goofy. I don't like how the board looks. I don't like how the cards look. It's just, everything about it just kind of just irks me. But again, this is all personal preference for me.
If you like words and being quick on your feet, We cannot stress enough how highly we recommend last word. It makes you feel smarter from communicating with your friends and invites cordial behavior, as players will find themselves jumping up and down and chuckling over what constitutes a correct word. When the timer goes off, you'll be readying yourself again to see who has the last word next time. Thank you guys for watching this Shelfside review. I'll see you guys in the next review. Bye-bye.